Hi guys. Today we are doing something totally different than I've done for a long time. I am a yarn spinner and I haven't spun yarn in a very long time, even though I have sheep and I have fiber literally coming out of every closet in my house. It's been a long time since I've sat down and spun. So there's an event that happens yearly, but I thought this year I would participate in what's called the Tour de Fleece. Which is basically the days of the Tour de France. A spinner would make some goals and actually spin every day of the Tour de France. And so that they call that the Tour de Fleece. And I've never done this before, and I don't have anybody I'm doing it with because no one is, I just do my thing by myself. But it's been a long time since I've done any spinning. So I really want to just have a good excuse to spin every day for a little bit anyway, every day. And I have no idea even how long the Tour de France goes. So so will it be a surprise to me how many days I'll actually be spinning? Yes, it will. Some of this time I'm actually going to be gone on a trip. So I'm going to take my hand spindle with me and actually do some hand spindle spinning. And we'll see what we come up with. Mostly, I just want to get back in the habit of spinning more. And I want to check over my equipment, and I want to go through my stash of fiber and try some things that have been literally stashed for years that I haven't had a chance to go spin. So it'll be fun. And we'll start out with some basic equipment review, evaluation, repairs. I don't know what we're gonna need to do. So this is my beautiful wheel. I've had this wheel since, 2011, probably 2011. And I got a really good deal. I was a brand new spinner, had just started spinning, had borrowed a friend's wheel that was very similar to this one. This is an Ashford, one of the Ashford wheels. Anyway, someone on Craigslist had posted about this wheel, that they were selling it for $100. And I had been looking for a wheel, but nothing less than $400 or $500, and I just couldn't afford it at the time. And so I called them and said, "Hold it for me, please." And it was a good drive away, good 3 or 4 hour drive away. And so I said, "Could you please hold it over the weekend?" And they said, "Sure, you're the first person to call." And so I got it, even though about 20 people called after that. My daughter and I painted it. I don't name my wheels. I don't understand that trend, but I have used this wheel quite a bit for a while. This is I think it's a Traveler. Ashford Traveler. I can't remember. Anyway, there's my wheel for today. Today's wheel, the Ashford. Ha! Well, and it has been so long since I spun that I can't really remember where to put the oil. But knowing something about mechanical things, probably where parts rub against other parts. So I'm just gonna start oiling and see what I come up with. Maybe I'll go get a cloth and dust it first. It isn't terribly dirty because I did use it not too long ago, but it is a little dusty. So let's start with now. What I've discovered is that everything that has to do with fibers of fabric and yarn and such, the major principles are tension and pressure. And so unless you're doing dyeing or something, there's some other principles involved in that. But anything where you're actually creating yarn or cloth, the fundamental principles are tension and pressure. So you're either pushing something through or you're pulling on it, and you have to become very adept at figuring out what the tension and pressure are. And thankfully we have very dexterous hands, and actually other parts of your body as well are very suited for adjusting tension and pressure. And so that's why we have such beautiful stuff in the fabric and fiber world, because we're just really good at it. Naturally, we have that. Now, when you're first learning how to spin or how to knit or how to crochet, it's that tension and pressure problem that is the most tricky to figure out. And the problem is that you just can't look at somebody else doing it and get that. You really have to work with it a lot. So when I very first started spinning, you're gonna laugh. When I very first started spinning, I was terrible. I was absolutely horrible. The first yarns I made literally wouldn't go through the orifice, which is this little hole right here. So that's where the yarn, the fibers, you kind of prep them as they go in, and then they go in, and then they wrap up on the spindle. And I could not, for the life of me, get my yarn small enough to go through the orifice. And it was a nightmare. And it took a long time. I don't know why I stuck with it, because it was so irritating, annoying, difficult. It took forever to learn it. And then I just spun and spun and spun and spun until I couldn't see straight. And that taught me how to do the tension and pressure. So I was watching YouTube videos, I was reading books, I was studying about it, but there's really no substitute for doing it with your hands. So if you're frustrated, if you've ever tried to learn how to knit or crochet, or heaven forbid spinning, definitely keep at it, because it's all about, like when you play basketball, you don't know how to dribble at first, right? You have to learn how. It takes time and effort to learn how. And there's so many things going on in fiber work at the same time. There's tension, there's pressure, there's distance, there's how you hold your hands, there's a ton of different variables that you're just gonna have to like pretend you know how and start doing it and figure out what doesn't work. So you just can't know until you do it and you figure it out. So just keep going, figure it out, it'll be fine. You'll have tons of times where the fiber will drift apart. You'll have tons of time when you're knitting when you'll look at this thing and go, this looks nothing like what it's supposed to look like. I don't know where to put the needle. I don't know how to wrap this thing. I don't know which direction things are going. I literally, maybe I'm just the expert at failing, but when I was young, I taught myself how to do many fiber arts. So I learned how to knit by reading a book. Well, my mom gave me the basics, and then I was reading books. Well, I thought I knew what I was doing. And so I knitted literally for 30 years, 35 years. And then I went to a lace knitting class, and the teacher said, knit through the back loop. And I said, isn't that how you normally knit? And I wondered why my lace knitting never turned out to look like the other knitting, like the project was supposed to look. It never looked like that. I was just like, I am a failure at knitting. I don't know what I'm doing. Basically what it was I had learned incorrectly, and I was continually knitting through the back loop. I couldn't figure out why it was taking so much more yarn than the pattern called for to finish things. So when I was, 50, 45, something like that, I actually had to relearn all the muscle memory of 35 years of knitting to correct the mistakes that I had made when I was very first learning how to knit. So keep going, just enjoy it, just have fun with it. If it doesn't come out fine, if it comes out wacky, just try to figure out why. There's lots of people online that can help you figure out why things look wonked or whatever. YouTube was a brilliant thing for learning fiber arts, because it's something that you have to watch somebody else do and then do yourself. And there's so many really good tutorials online about how to do things. I learned how to knit continental style which is so much better, you guys, really. I know both, and it's really handy when you're doing color work to know both. But if you're gonna start with continental. It seems fiddly, but oh my gosh, it's so much easier and so much faster and so much more gratifying and more results quicker. So if you have a chance to learn continental, that would be better. Anyway, I can't remember what I was saying because I'm just a goof and, you know, going in a million directions. Anyway, here's our wheel. We're all set up. Now I'm gonna go try to figure out what fiber I even have in the stash to just start out with today, just do some warming up kind of for Tour de Fleece. Don't you just hate that glare off my glasses? It makes me crazy. I have a coating on there to block the blue light, but it just is annoying. Pink everywhere, hot pink. Not my color. Anyway, just wanted to let you know that I do not have a single stitch of spinnable fiber here in the house. I recently moved a bunch of stuff over to storage. So we're gonna go to storage and find some fiber to spin today. And now we have hot pink and sunglasses because my glasses darkened up while I was out in the barn. Sorry about that. You can't see my eyes. It's just not gonna happen. So let's see what we have. Now this is a fleece that was given to me by someone who keeps alpacas, but they don't really keep the fleece. And I had several of these, and because I was just kind of doing the lady a favor by taking them off her hands, I gave most of it to a class, a Montessori class that's doing a lot of spinning. But I really liked this one, so I kept it. And as you can see, I don't know if you can tell the color, it looks kind of like almost a gray on the camera, but it's actually got kind of a peachy cast to it, a little warm cast to it. So it's gonna be interesting to see that spun up and see what happens with it. And I haven't actually spun much straight alpaca. I don't think I've ever spun any blends either. So this will be a first. Isn't that what Tour de Fleece is about? Just having a first. Let's see what we can do as far as just doing it right straight out of the bag. It's a little dusty, but it's not terrible. And it does have a little bit of these cute little guard hairs that are a little longer. And so I'm not going to do much carding on this. I'm just going to go for it, see what happens, see how long the fibers are, see how well they catch together. I did do a class one time on camelids, and we spun a little bit of alpaca, llama, vicuña, different kinds of camelid species, but I haven't done much with alpaca. And I am spinning rather fine. So in reaction to my initial not being able to get the yarn through the orifice, it was so big, my goal for a long time was to spin fine. And my teacher warned me against that. She said, don't worry about it. Just what you'll do is train yourself to spin fine, and then you won't be able to spin anything else. And her prediction came true. And so a really good spinner will be able to do several different kinds of spinning. Short draw, short forward draw, short backward draw, long draw. What I do is a combination of whatever works. and I tend to have a kind of a long draw. I don't keep my hands like really tight here. To me, that feels too constricted, just personally, just on a physical basis. So I'm not necessarily like trying to make a particular kind of yarn in a particular kind of way. I just like yarn, and I like fluff, and I like feeling it in my hands, and I like to just be kind of free with it. And so I'm a very unstructured kind of spinner, but I did learn, I was thinking at one point about creating yarns for a living, and I was very slow. And so the book that I read was called Production Spinning, and it talked about how to do it quickly, large quantities quickly, so that you could then, sell it faster if it was done. So that's kind of the direction that I went in. And then as I learned more about how the yarns behave, how the fibers behave, I just do what feels like works. And then I get this kind of a, I don't know if you can even see that. See that width? That's about how I normally spin. And then if I need more of a heavier yarn, I will ply more of these together, more of these singles together, and make a thicker yarn. So that's just my style, and real spinners would probably roll over in their graves and roll their eyes at me, but this is how I do it and how I like to do it, and I just find it fun. So I'm not going to stress about it too much. I'm not a spinner for production, even though I wish the world was set up in a way where you could spin for a living, but I feel like the only way to make money doing it is to teach other people how. So yeah, this is actually pretty lovely stuff. I'm probably way over twisting it in an attempt to not break it. So that's something I might work on later, is as I get more familiar with the fiber, to get a better feel for how twisted it should be, because I'm losing, when the yarn is twisted up like this, if it's twisted hard, it will be stronger, but it will also not be soft anymore. It'll get harder and harder. And so it's still got quite a bit of softness, and some of that will come back when I ply, because this twist that I'm putting in will untwist a little bit when we ply it. And it does have this beautiful halo, so it's still kind of soft because of the halo, but I probably don't need to be twisting it quite so hard. Why is this so wonky? Oh my word. Very thick thin at this point, because I'm still kind of figuring out where the long bits are. And yep, there's a really long bunch of fibers right there that are going to stick out and look weird. So I might actually want to card some of this to distribute the fine and coarser fibers more evenly. That might be a thing. That might be a prep job for tomorrow's version of this. Oh, I see what's going on. My castle support is coming apart. Okay, well there's a little sample. And then when I'm done, like I say, I can just go whoop whoop, and it holds all the twist. And I can go do something else for a while and then come right back to it. Now it'll be a little bit different, because tension and pressure have to do with your relationship kind of with the thing, and when you come back, you're sort of fresh to the relationship, and it will be a little different. It'll be a little more twisted or a little less twisted. Lots of different things that can change when you've gone off to do something else and come back, but much less likely that you'll make a big mistake like you will with knitting some complex piece. I've got a part that's good to know. This is getting very loose, and I need to tighten that screw right there. So I'm going to go do that, and we'll join you again tomorrow for some more Tour de Fleece.